Um, well, first and foremost, I want to know what your thoughts are to the firing. You agree, disagree, and then I'll go from there.
I what I said earlier was I'm shocked, but not disappointed. But I feel like Vrabel being gone has you might have lost some members of that locker room.
Wow.
You know, because D Hop came here because of Derrick Henry and because of playing with Vrabel in Houston, and he knows Tim Kelly. Now, does you have him for another year, but does D Hop really want to stay now? And if you had a chance to re-sign Derrick Henry, if you did, Derrick Henry likes playing for Mike Vrabel, so I don't see Derrick Henry definitely not coming back now. But if you're going to replace Mike Vrabel, you better do it with someone well known. And the only person I can think of, and this is what Poston was saying, and I think Jim Harbaugh. I think we do whatever we can to offer that man some money to leave Michigan to come here.
Do you think that there was a pressure in the Tennessee media, perhaps, that might have pushed the issue on making this move for the organization, or do you think it's just something the organization had already had plans once they determined there was no playoffs?
Well, they always had the rumor in the innuendo that him and Rand Carthon didn't get along, and that Vrabel's hard headed about stuff. And well, Vrabel's always been hard headed. That's always been his motto. He's always been that way. Well, what's weird was there was a report last month that said that the front office had every intention of keeping Vrabel as a head coach. I don't know what changed. I don't know if maybe in that meeting she wanted to make some changes to the coaching staff and Vrabel didn't want to, and she's like, well, if you're not going to do it, then you're gone. I don't know if that's what it was. I'm thinking to this extent, from what I heard, Vrabel wanted to stay. So, and I know some fans are pissed because they're like, well, why didn't we just trade him to Chicago or New England and get some trade value? The problem with that, though, is that there's so many coaches out there that are going to be looking for jobs, and so many teams are looking to replace coaches that if you sit there and you wait for that trade to happen, who do you get at the end?
Okay, so there might have been a little pressure wise from the fans. Maybe they were disappointed this year and last year, considering the fact that he was Derrick Henry had won Offensive Player of the Year in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and then, you guys won 11-5 that year. Then the 2021 season, you went 12-5 and lost in the divisional round to the Bengals by just a field goal. And Mike Vrabel, of course, won Coach of the Year of that season. And then from there, it went from 7-10 to 6-11. Now that we are at the 17-game season, I saw a video where Vrabel kind of went Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yep.
And he pulled that gimmick and he said, I ain't going nowhere there, boy. I ain't getting far there, boy. Like those reporters were asking the tough questions and he got triggered. Like they were cooking him. And he said, listen there, boy, I ain't going nowhere there, boy. I ain't never leaving there, boy. And I'm wondering, all joking aside, he said, I ain't going anywhere. I'm not leaving. I ain't going anywhere. One can interpret that as arrogance, right? And one can interpret that he's confident, he's going to maintain the course. And from a fan's perspective, I'm like, I can appreciate that. But I'm wondering, I want to get your belief on this. I want to ask you the question since you're a diehard Titans fan. Do you believe that maybe the ownership or the front office took that a little bit differently than from a fan perspective? I like that WWE Raw promo. But I'm wondering if the owners in the front office thought otherwise. Do you think that's a possibility that maybe he might have rubbed them off the wrong way?
I think it's a possibility. I also think it's a possibility that those rumors about him and Rand Carthon, the general manager, don't get along. I think that possibly could be true now. I really do think that, because if you look at Rand Carthon, he was the draft guy for the 49ers. Look at what he's done with San Francisco before he left. And I look at that and I think maybe he wanted to change the Titans into that kind of a formula, and Vrabel wanted to be able to have some control over his team as well.
Okay.
I think that what you got is that Brent Carthon had one way of thinking, and then Vrabel had another way of thinking, and I think that that's where the miscommunication came about.
Yeah, big miscommunication. Because see, the thing is one can make the argument that since 2021, it's probably for the Titans has been a disaster in terms of expectations since the 2021 season. At the peak of Vrabel's coaching tenure, which that was year 4, right? And so year 5 and year 6 were not so well. But one can make the argument on behalf of Vrabel saying, listen, Ryan Tannehill was hurt the year before. I had lost him. I had Malik Willis, who did not live up to expectations. That's not my fault that he didn't live up to expectations. And then you had Will Levis that didn't implement himself till later on in the year, right? Why he didn't start till what, week 5, week 4?
Something like that, week 6.
Yeah. So, one can make the argument in Vrabel's defense is, well, what did you expect me to do? I didn't have a quarterback. Now I believe we do, but he's barely in year 1. What did you expect? Do you think Vrabel has a case for maybe, hey, it's not my fault that we didn't have a quarterback?
I think Vrabel's being blamed just like the old general manager, John Robinson, because they both were working together closely. And all these trades and drafts busts that happened, and all this going over the cap, not having enough money to keep certain players. I think I think Mike Vrabel is being held responsible for that as well, which I don't think is fair. But I think in a lot of ways, with that new stadium coming in, and this is not Vrabel's fault, that new stadium coming in 2027, I think the Titans organization wants a win now, and they don't want to wait for him to help develop they don't want him to help develop Will Levis. And I think because he stayed with Ryan Tannehill for too long and didn't really bring in Will Levis in the beginning of the season, I think that was part of the reason why. But the one thing I can honestly say about a Mike Vrabel-led Titans team is they always fought hard, no matter what. Even if they lost bad or whatever the case may be, they always fought hard because of his mentality. And I think this could be one of the times where this might bite the Titans in the ass.
Okay, so it sounds like to me you don't really agree with the firing. Like more of you kind of have you're kind of like this, like pendulum swinging both ways, like I like that clock. But I think you're sort of moving more towards like, I don't agree that they should have necessarily fired him, considering all these,
I think they should have gave him one more year. And you look at it like this. Okay, well, here you are. Now we got all this cap space. We're bringing all these in. We're bringing all these players in that you want. You have Will Levis here. Now you have an offensive line. Now you have this. Now you had that D-Hops here. You got a new receiver. There's no excuses now. I think if you would have gave him one more year and gave him all these people that he needed, and they still had a losing season, then I'd be like, all right, now it's on you.
Understandable. I think that, well, I mean, again, I think the Titans didn't really have Ryan Tannehill had an amazing season 2 years ago in 2020 season, and even in 2021. So, I mean, we got to give Tannehill some credit, right? And then, of course, entering these last 2 years, Tannehill got hurt last year and was out for the year. And then Malik Willis really didn't help out. I mean, really didn't pan out the way he was supposed to. And then now you got Levis, who's going to be y'all's franchise, and he didn't get implemented. And then he's a rookie and all that stuff. And I just think that the Titans figure, well, okay, we have this young guy that's coming in now. Basically, this is sort of a rebuilding, retooling scenario. Vrabel's been with the team for X amount of time, probably stuck in his old ways. Is this going to be the right fit? Head coach via rookie quarterback. And maybe we need to go in a new direction with another type of head coach, either a veteran guy or a young college mind that can develop a young quarterback. And I think that's how the Titans looked at it
Yep.
from that perspective, because if you have Vrabel in there and you had Ryan Tannehill, it made sense. Veteran head coach with veteran experience, veteran quarterback who's reshaped his career sort of like Geno Smith. So you're like, okay, that kind of makes sense there. But now you're going young, and then Derrick Henry's out the door now, already thanking for his seasons, the amount of years he played for you guys. So now he's out. And so you're thinking, okay, well, at the head coaching position, is he going to be the right fit for a young quarterback that you want to groom into the next, pocket passing quarterback, a Tom Brady or something? I'm not saying comparing him to Tom Brady, but I'm just saying in that sense of, Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees, because we don't know what the future holds with Levis. But I would say that maybe they should get a young college coach or a young offensive coordinator or something, and maybe give him an opportunity to take that head coaching job and see where that goes. So I can understand why the Titans would fire him, although I'm thinking, well, it's not really Vrabel's fault either, considering the answer at quarterback,
Well, they have to see. I think another issue is that Vrabel's coaching style, I think, doesn't mix in with what the NFL does nowadays, because we talked about it, the NFL is kind of a pass friendly, offensive scoring 30, 40 points a game.
Facts.
And I feel like that Vrabel, I like his formula with his defense and the running game and taking time off the clock, keeping that offense off the field. I will honestly say, and I know Prodigal Hill is going to love this because he mentioned it in the comments, if Dallas gets put out in the first round of playoffs, just hear me out for a second. Here's a scenario for anybody. They fire Mike McCarthy, bring Mike Vrabel in with Derrick Henry to Dallas.
Yeah.
And Dallas has already got that offensive line. They already got a quarterback. They already got a good defense. You bring a defensive-minded guy like Mike Vrabel to that mix.
And see, that's another thing I wanted to, and thank you for bringing that up, Kev. So give credit for me bringing up what I'm about to say. Also, there were rumors that Vrabel wanted the job in New England, that New England wanted him bad, and it could have. I'm wondering if maybe the media hype between Vrabel wanting to go to another team that's already sort of in playoff contention versus a rebuild might have driven the front office to even make this decision quicker.
I think what it is that I think Vrabel does not want to be a part of a rebuilding process. And I think that's what it is. And I feel like he had to go out there in front of the press conference and he had to say, look, I'm not leaving. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I think he told the players the day after that day they beat Jacksonville, I think he told the players he's leaving.
Wow. You think so?
I think he already had this in mind and he was going to be either fired. But the reason why I feel like they didn't, some fans are pissed that they didn't trade him. But here's the problem with that. If you trade him now, the trade doesn't go into effect until the draft, and the Titans would be stuck there with no head coach. So that's my issue with that. I'm like, you guys want him to trade? Sure. Yeah, we could have got some trade value from him. Absolutely. But where the fuck does that leave us with? Arthur Smith or some weird person like Rob Caveras? I mean, it's like Ron Rivera. I'm like, there's nobody to coach there at that point.
So so let me ask you this. Where do the Titans go from here in terms of head coach? What strategy you think they should take in the offseason?
I think if you're going to have somebody like Will Levis as your future, you need to have somebody that knows how to coach quarterbacks. And hey, people can say what they want about Jim Harbaugh being a cheater and all that other stuff, but Michigan won the national championship. But look what Jim Harbaugh did with a Colin Kaepernick 49er team.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, yeah, you can make that argument there. And who's to say if Harbaugh even comes in, considering that 10-year deal he's going to get from Michigan to stay, he might just jump on that because it's guaranteed. You just won a championship. He ain't getting fired anytime soon.
No.
From Michigan. Yeah. Even if he doesn't win another championship with them, he's already got one. That's enough to lock him in. They're going to give him throw a lot of guaranteed money his way. I think Jim Harbaugh, in my opinion, will be a fool to take the NFL head coaching job right now because there's too much to walk away from for college. You just got a natty. You might even get one next year. So I'm just saying it makes more sense for him to stay, But I'm sure you would love to go with Harbaugh, but
he would be my first. He would be my first choice, but it would be
you have a second or a
third. I thought this would be kind of interesting if they got. Well, let's say if New England does fire Belichick and Vrabel goes to New England, wouldn't it be interesting if Belichick comes here?
Oh man, if Belichick, I would entertain it if Belichick wanted the Tennessee
right. Job. If he wants it, yes. Another guy that I'm looking at is the offensive coordinator for the Lions. Ben Jones. But my issue with that though is that there's a lot of teams that are going to be looking for him, and the Lions have a good offensive year, but is he proven enough? That's where there's a lot of great offensive minded coaches, but Will Levis has that attitude as well of he likes to be greedy. He likes to play hard and greedy, and him and Vrabel gets along very well. So now you're in a situation where this is where I'm worried about here, man, is that Vrabel leaving is a domino effect because we already know that Derrick Henry was going to entertain the idea of free agency. But I think if Vrabel would have stayed, that Derrick Henry might have taken a pay cut and stayed. Maybe to that extent. But now you might lose DeAndre Hopkins now.
See, yeah, that's the double-bladed sword. There is you got a veteran like D-Hop who was convinced that the whole tighten up came from all these veterans, and it's like, wait a minute, I didn't entertain this rebuild here. I mean, I like Levi's, don't get me wrong,
right?
Man, I'm trying to go to a contender. So that means next year I'm gonna miss the playoffs. So what's even the point in that? And so now it's like, I already got money, I'm trying to win, and so which I appreciate the competition from D-Hop. But now you got to wonder, well, if D-Hop leaves, then you might as well just go ahead and rebuild. And I would just go ahead and go with a young-minded offensive coordinator and take that opportunity and go from there. But like you said, there is the domino effect now. You fire your head coach, you let Derrick Henry's out the door. Now D-Hop comes into question, and then, if he wants to stay, great. Hopefully he will. And then you could pick up maybe another receiver in the draft, maybe go 1-2 punch,
I would not be shocked if Derrick Henry goes where Vrabel goes.
Wow.
I entertained the idea earlier that if he goes to New England, it'd be kind of cool if Derrick Henry goes with him to New England.
I think, honestly, Derrick Henry should go to Dallas. I think, to me, that sounds like the most logic argument to make because – Dallas
he's got a place in Dallas. He's got a place in Dallas already. I think Dallas would be an idiot not to take him.
Yeah, of course. I think honestly, Derrick Henry and a Dallas star looks better than being in a New England star sitting next to Ezekiel Elliott and a Sam. What's his name? Mac Jones or whatever. To me, it makes more sense to go to Dallas than it would be if he was to go anywhere else. But hey, I'm not Derrick Henry, so I can't control where he goes. But I think honestly, Dallas would be the best fit for him.
And if you saw in that game against Jacksonville, if you block very well for him, which Dallas has got a good offensive line, Derrick Henry is going to rack up yards.
How many yards did he rush for in his final appearance as a Titan?
I think 150 something yards against Jacksonville. So.
Yeah. I heard Trevor Lawrence was crying to the referees, accusing them of cheating and shit.
Same could be said last year whenever Josh Dobbs was throwing that one ball and they said it was a lateral pass when it wasn't. We could talk about Jacksonville. I'm glad we knocked them the fuck out of the playoffs, little bastards.
Trevor Lawrence was crying to the refs on that fourth down. I didn't see it. I didn't see the highlights, but I saw the headline. And then he had taking shots at the refs after a game, talking about they were cheating and stuff for Derrick Henry's last debut. I said, not really. You guys have been playing like crap like after like the 6th game of the season. You guys had tons of time to lock that AFC South title up. Tons of time. So if anybody beat Jacksonville, it was themselves. But now they're going with the narrative, oh, well, the NFL cheated to rig it for the Titans to win so Derrick Henry can have a go-away present. I was like, well, I wouldn't really call it that, but you guys should have already won that division when you were losing games prior to that week to teams you should have beaten. And so that's your fault,
I mean, there was controversy last year when we were the last game of the year against them. We win, we're in the playoffs. We don't, Jacksonville goes. And there was a couple of plays that Jacksonville got away with in Jacksonville.
Yeah. Because Trevor Lawrence was all hulking up, I thought he was going to fucking start, doing those Hulk Hogan punches to the ref,
And I'm pretty sure somewhere Tony Khan's probably crying up a storm that Jacksonville got put out too, because the Khans are Jacksonville Jaguar owners. So I'm pretty sure he's like, oh my God, my wrestling company's going down, but here goes Jacksonville too.
He cares more about AEW than the Jaguars.
Oh, I know he does.
Yeah, and that's sad. If he put in half the energy in the Jacksonville that he did AEW, I'm saying his Jacksonville team would be way more successful. But but I'm glad y'all guys got the win, not just because we won the division, but also because it was the ride off in the sunset. Derrick Henry rushed for 150, so obviously they gave him a nice going away present. That also beefs up his trade value because I don't know if y'all can still trade him, right?
Not now, no.
Oh, fuck. Well, I mean, that beefs up his resume for other teams. And maybe you were right earlier when we did that last video 2 weeks ago where you said that they should have tried to trade Derrick Henry before the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Now you get nothing.
Now you get nothing. And the same thing with now you're letting Ryan Tannehill walk. And you're letting and now you just let Mike Vrabel go out the door. Well, you pretty much gave him a pink slip out the door. But
hey, it wouldn't be funny if Vrabel starts up a new NFL franchise and he takes all the players y'all cut and he starts building his own team.
Yep.
He's like, I don't appreciate this shit that y'all did there, boy. He's like, so we're going to Chattanooga and I'm making another franchise. I refuse to leave the state of Tennessee. I told y'all I wasn't getting fired, and I'm starting up a new team there, boy. And he's like, and he calls himself the Chattanooga Lightning Bolts or something. And he starts it. He brings Tannehill and Derrick Henry and all these.
I would not be. Hey, here's something else too. I would not be shocked if Mike Vrabel decides not to go to the NFL and he decides to become the Ohio State coach.
Oh shit! Really?
I mean, because he is from Ohio State. He loves, that's where he went to college at. Maybe he felt like maybe he may take a break from the pros and go elsewhere for a little bit. That's something else a lot of people don't. Everybody's automatically thinking, oh, he's a top tier coach, which he is. People are going to be wanting to go after him, which I'm pretty sure he will get offers. But he might be looking at Ohio State, and he might be looking at that money and going,
I mean, other than the last 2 years, I mean, if you look at Vrabel's like success rate, I would say he's probably had the most success since any head coach y'all probably had in the early 2000s. Like it goes far way back, like Mike Mularkey, Ken Wisenhunt. It goes further back than that. Because if you look at the 6 seasons, he's only had 2 losing seasons. He's had the 3 playoff consecutive years from 2019 to 2021. He's had Ryan Tannehill was player of the year, and then comeback player of the year, Derrick Henry offensive player of the year, and then Mike Vrabel coach of the year. Those are pretty astonishing awards.
He's been the best coach we've had since Jeff Fisher.
Oh yeah,
and that says a lot because we dealt with Mike, we dealt with Ken Wisenhunt, we dealt with Mike Mularkey, we dealt with the Oilers great. Mike Munchak as a coach for a little bit. We dealt with that situation, and I'm like, now we finally get a coach that a lot of us are. But that's the thing about some Titan fans, man. I'm telling you, some of them could be a bunch of piss ants, because they're all about we just rebuild, retool. Let's start this over. Let's go do this again. Some of them are pissed that the Titans won just because the trade value, just because they're pick will be from 7 instead of 6. I'm like, whoopee doo. It's 1 point. Now, let's just say, for example, if the Titans would have lost and they would have got a 5th or a 4th, then I'd been like, okay, yeah, let's lose this one. But that's the thing about the Titans, and that's how Mike Vrabel's attitude is. They're not just going to lose football games on purpose. That's just not who Mike Vrabel is as a person.
I'm thinking the Titans might just blow it up. Because if Vrabel got fired, it might have been friction between him and the front office, and I think that's where it is. Maybe their views didn't line up together, and they're just like, yeah, let's get rid of this guy. He's too arrogant. Let's get rid of him. And I think there might have been some toes being stepped on behind the scenes. Otherwise, if you ask me personally, I think Vrabel at least has one more year, and I think that would have been fair. And that's how you keep D-Hop. You trade. Derrick Henry leaves. That's cool. Let's go completely new. You got Spears or whatever running back. You can always draft another one and draft or sign one in free agency. Then maybe you can plug up those holes on the offensive line. Maybe an extra receiver would have helped, and then just see what happens. But now you fire a veteran head coach. Now it almost seems like, okay, well then where does DeAndre Hopkins line up in this? And then if it's like, okay, well even if he does stay, we still got to fill these plugs up. It almost seems like we got to blow it up anyway. It almost seems like that's where it's headed to. It basically is. And so that's what I'm saying. I think if you bring in a veteran head coach, DeAndre Hopkins would be fine with that. But if you're bringing up some maybe offensive guy that's there, I'm not saying D-Hop won't stay, but there's also a possibility he might want a trade. And if so, the Titans can still acquire an easy high second round pick for him, or maybe even first round. He had 1,000 yards.
I think if D-Hop wants to leave, you do not release him. You don't let him go unless you get something.
Facts. You got 1 year left on that deal, buddy.
Yeah. You don't let him just walk away and not get nothing. Now, what I'm worried about is there's some members of the defense like Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry, and all of them who just signed brand new contracts and they love Mike Vrabel. How are they going to feel in this situation?
I think they stay. I don't think they're at that star level to make those calls. I just think the only guy that comes into issue now, other than the head coach, is going to determine if D-Hop stays, and that's where I think it comes in. But I think everybody else, you'll be fine.
D-Hop, I think, is one of those people where if you bring in a Belichick or you bring in a Harbaugh, a John Harbaugh or whatever, I think if you bring in someone like that, he's like, okay, I'm in. I'll stay.
Yeah. Veteran head coach with winning experience, I think he would be on board with that. So I guess it just depends on what the Titans do at the head coaching position. Are they going to go young, or are they just going to go experience but with a new clean slate? I guess that question remains unsolved, but at least till the draft or before the draft. But yeah, I think the Titans got a great quarterback going into rebuilding. It's just, you got to plug up all those holes. But I think Vrabel should have stayed one more year, at least one more year.
I think that they should have gave him. I think he deserved that right to at least have one more year to kind of be like, okay, we got all these pieces now for you. We did this in the draft. We did this in free agency. The offensive line's beefed up. You got a new receiver. You got some good corners now. There's no excuses. Because I think a rookie coach coming into an AFC South now that's going to be stacked. Look at Houston, Jacksonville's well coached, and the Colts are no slouch either. Do you really want to bring in a rookie coach that hasn't had that experience against rivals? And that's where I'm a little worried about, because I'm like, now you're. Especially because, I think Houston's definitely going to keep you guys are definitely going to keep y'all's coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And we fired 3 head coaches in the last 3 years. So obviously that could be a case where y'all just want to see what coach fits in. And we use us as an example. We fired 3 head coaches in 3 years. We had 4 different head coaches in 4 years. So that goes to show you. And even I was like, what the hell is going on? And then now with D'Amico in, we found the right fit. But like I said, since 2016, the Titans have only had 2 losing seasons in the last 8 years. And that was these last 2 years. If you've had a minimum of 9-7, and in those last 8 years, you've managed to make the playoffs. I think 4 of those times. 1 under Malarkey and 3 under Vrabel. So to be fair, I think the Titans have had a lot of success since 2016. It's just these last 2 years have been rough. But I still think Vrabel should have coached 1 more year.
Now, one former Titan Oiler great who is coaching college football right now, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think they would look at him, but I think if they interviewed him, I think they would interview him just for purposes of star power. Eddie George is a head coach for TSU. Okay. So, I mean, I don't know how Eddie would feel about coaching in the NFL. I don't know if he'd want to have that hassle of dealing with the NFL. Coaching is a hell of a lot different in college. So I don't know if he would want that possibility for it. But I feel like I'm looking at so many coaches out there. There's only maybe 2 or 3 that I'm like, I'd be okay with. If they go with someone totally different I'd never heard of before, then that's when I'm going to be like, what the heck are y'all doing? And then I'm going to be like, well, you know what? Maybe they're just filling it out, like you said. They're going to fill it out and see what fits and what doesn't. But at the same time, you do have a new stadium that's coming in 2027. And you definitely want to be able to have that. You want to have those winning seasons. You want to have I know they're all about getting a championship here in Tennessee. They want to have they're all about that now, and which is great. The problem is, can you do it with a rookie coach, an offensive-minded rookie coach, instead of a veteran one?
So the 2026 season, is it 2026, 2027 is the new stadium, or 2027, 2028?
I think 26, 27 is the new stadium.
Okay, so that means y'all got 2 more years under this stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And then y'all gonna have a brand new stadium across the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Now I don't see the point in that, but okay.
I don't believe me. A lot of people here in Nashville were not happy about the new stadium because technically Nissan Stadium still looks really nice. They did some remodeling. They could have done some retooling with the stadium.
I thought they did renovations for it.
They did. Okay. And it looked really nice. And it looked really great. And I looking at it like the stadium still looks brand new. When you look at it outside, you're like, still looks like a brand new stadium.
Facts. So what is the new stadium? Have y'all seen the designs for it yet? Have they shown?
I have seen designs of it. It's what's
weird.
Nice? What's that?
Does it look nice?
I'm gonna see if I can find it. I'll post it on here.
Yeah. Because I was just about to look it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll see it. It's actually called Nissan Stadium. It's gonna be the new Nissan Stadium, but 2020. Yeah, all right. I'm not really digging the new look, but let's see what we got here. Present. Screen share. Here we go.
Okay.
That's the new one.
Okay. Let me see. Do they have pictures of what it will look inside?
So I'm looking for.
And what does your old one look like? What does the old one look like?
The old one? Okay. Let me see.
Yeah, like the current one, I guess.
That's the current one.
I kind of like the current one. I mean, I don't know how the new one's going to look design wise. I guess when it finishes, we'll know. But I
Yeah,
like that old one.
I know.
I wonder if the fans of Nashville are like overwhelming, like in favor of the new stadium, or they're against it, or there's mixed reviews, or they do a poll or a vote, or
There, well, they said it wasn't supposed to be taxpayers weren't supposed to pay it, but that was a lie.
determine that was a lie.
Yeah, that was a lie. Um, I think the fans here are pretty much like if Titans were in contention every year and we were going to the playoffs and we were winning games and we got to a couple AFC championships, maybe got to a Super Bowl, I think the fans would be a little bit more on board with it. But a lot of Titan fans look at it like we ain't won anything, so technically we don't deserve anyone.
Well, do you think maybe that's why they're trying to sell it more? Because think about it like this: if you know your team needs to win games and you want to sell the new stadium, well, how would it look if your team had the last 4 years of like 5-11 seasons or 5-12? And so they're like, well, that's not really going to sell the new stadium, especially if taxpayers are going to be footing part of that bill. Remember when Bud Adams moved, that was the same issues he was facing is I want a new stadium now, but his team wasn't winning enough. And then when the new stadium was there, he didn't want to wait. Nashville gave him the call. He jumped the board. And then, of course, in his third year there, um, they made the Super Bowl. The first 2 years were the Tennessee Oilers, the 97-98 season. And then the rights changed in the 99-2000 season. Y'all became the Titans, and y'all made the Super Bowl that year. And so maybe that was to sell. Now you're moving across the parking lot. It's not like you're moving to another city. So they got to say, okay, we got to sell the idea that this team is prepared for this next step in this new stadium. We got to cover the cost of tickets and all that. It's going to be more expensive, probably a little more pricey. So why not just go ahead and make this change now so that way we have a pitch to throw at them?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all advertisement at this point. But my question is, even if that's the case, you don't really necessarily know if it's going to work because I know you're taking a risk and there's a gamble involved in business, but at the same time you're going to rebuild. So those 2 years may be losing seasons anyway. Like there's no guarantee. So why not just go ahead and stick with Vrabel for another year? And then you can plug in those pieces in the offseason. And then if you have a losing season that season, you get rid of Vrabel the year before that transition. Then you can say, okay, we're going to rebuild, but hey, we got a fresh new stadium. To me, it seems like a better sales pitch to keep Vrabel one more season.
The problem is that you look at the new stadium, the old stadium, the one we're in right now, could fit 68 to 70,000 people.
Okay.
This new one can only fit 60,000. So they're losing.
Wow, talk about inflation.
Right. But they're building this new stadium to not only be able to host a Super Bowl here in Nashville, but there's a possibility that WrestleMania might be interested in coming here.
Okay, so yeah, then they're trying to throw a pitch to WrestleMania. So they're trying to generate profit into all that money they're investing into that stadium.
Right.
Taxpayers are going to be hit, of course. Anytime you're talking about a new stadium, taxpayers are going to be hit to some degree.
And that's where and then plus this stadium can, from what I heard, this stadium can open up and then close. So if it's bad weather, they can close it and open up when it's good weather and stuff like that. So technically, I think it keeps the point where it looks to me a lot like the Colts Stadium, Lucas Oil.
Yeah,
that's kind of what it kind of looks like to me a little bit, where they can close the lid, open it up, and
I guess they don't like cold weather anymore. To me, I always thought it was an advantage to play in a colder city team.
Especially the way the Titans play, you pound the rock with Henry when people are having to get hit with that. But yeah, I mean, I'm at the position now where I just feel like Vrabel will deserve to have at least one more year.
One more.
And I feel like if you got all the pieces around now and he still was losing.
Again, he was open up. In that interview, that reporter said, "You think he'll be fired here?" He's like, not going anywhere there, boy. How dare you, boy? I mean, he was fucking triggered. I'm like, ooh, I like this guy. I'm like, let's keep him. The minute he said, hey, I ain't going nowhere, boy. I ain't going nowhere, boy. I was like, damn, let's keep this guy one more year. I like that. He said, who likes losing? I don't like losing there, boy.
Oh my God. One thing I love about Mike Vrabel is the fact that he gets very, 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 when some of the people ask him some stupid questions around here, he makes some smart ass remarks, but that's the first time that I saw him very fiery up.
Facts. That's why I'll keep him.
He was like, basically like, who the hell likes losing? I don't. Do you? So he just like,
he was angry. He was angry, and you could hear it in his voice. I think he took off the wrong way. But I took it from a fan's perspective. I'm like, okay, next year you're coming with us, bro.
What Vrabel should have did was went up to the front office the day after they beat Jacksonville and were like, am I going to stay? No. Then I'm going to stun you.
Bro, he should have came in there with a chair. He's like, if I get fired, I'm coming after the front office. If you hear all this ruckus in the back there, boy, I got my WrestleMania moment right now, boy.
The one thing I love about him as a coach is especially during like training camp and mini camp, he puts on the pads and he goes and hits the players too.
See, that's why I think from a fan's perspective, Vrabel should have stayed, except for those, negative Nancy naysayers, which every fan base has those, right, where they nitpick through everything. But I think vast majority of the fans of Tennessee would have loved to see him one more year.
Yep.
But I think the issues lie deeper with the front office and the owner. I mean, and potentially the GM and all that. And I think that interview rubbed them off the wrong way. But in my opinion, I think if it would have fired me up to keep him another year.
I think Mike Vrabel's at a point now where I think I would love to be a fly on the wall when the GM and when the owner talked to him this morning. I mean, I just would like to be on him being like, you're going to do what?
You know what would be funny? They fired him, and he comes out on Raw, and he's like, cut the music. He's like, these motherfuckers fired me when I didn't have a fucking quarterback, and it's your fucking fault. And he's like, and I told you I ain't fucking leaving.
I mean, honestly, I look at it like this, and the situation with Vrabel is that I think the meeting happened to where they talked to him about another year, and he was pretty much saying, look, I'm tired of losing. And they're probably like, okay, well, then get rid of some of your staff. And he's like, no, I'm not getting rid of any of my staff. And they're like, well, then you leave us no choice, but you're fired.
You think they want him to fire like Tim Kelly or some shit like that?
I think they wanted a good offensive coordinator last year, and he just hired from within. He didn't even really try to interview anybody. So Vrabel is one of those people where he's like, I'm just going to hire within, which some coaches are like that, but he didn't even interview anybody.
Okay, so we can admit that he's a little arrogant.
Yeah.
But they knew what they were getting from him.
Yeah.
They knew what they were getting. And it's not like they had a bunch of losing seasons. It's just the last 2 years, really.
Man, he goes on to there's our former lineman Taylor Lewan has a podcast on YouTube called Bustin' with the Boys.
Mm-hmm.
And it's here in Nashville, and Mike Vrabel's been on that show twice. Vrabel's over there talking shit to him. He's like if you gave Mike Vrabel a mic, it'd be Pipe Bomb City. at that point.
So he's like CM Punk's father.
Yeah, pretty much. But he's very he's very cool with the players, and he's he plays music during during training camp. He's out there hitting with the players. He's the one thing he hates doing, and I think he got this from being with Belichick. He hates asking stupid questions from the press.
Oh yeah, he gets triggered. He gets fired up. In fact, I'm be honest with you, I think it's one of his greatest strengths. Are you gonna say, what are you talking about? Shit. And he stood there on that podium. If you had Ron Rivera, for example, or any of these other coaches that lose a lot, right? Like a Matt Rule. And they're standing there on the press conference and they're getting slammed by the reporters. They have this like defeated look. They're like, well, we had a good week of practice, but I don't know what else to do. And, they have already this defeated look. Vrabel like stood up with his chest bowled out and was like, I'm not going over that boy. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. I like the confidence. He doesn't like to lose. And I know he didn't want to throw any quarterbacks under the bus, but he could have said, hey, look, I don't have any veteran quarterback at this time. Give me a chance to go through this process. And we'll have a better strategy in the offseason. If there's anything I can change about myself, absolutely. And if I'm Vrabel, maybe he could have sold it a little bit better and said, listen, I'm about learning and growing. Maybe I've been a little complacent. Maybe I need to dial it up a notch. This offseason, I will.
I think that's one thing the fans have said too, is that he's been very complacent. He's been he kind of acted like he was content until that press conference.
To be fair, that happens. And I think anytime you're in a line of work or a line of business, as humans, me and Prodigal, we covered this on the channel about the whole end of times, and humans are wicked. Yep. We have wickedness in our heart. And as you get complacent, you tend to make mistakes, or you overlook a lot of red flags and overlook things, so you get more mellow down in your positional line of work. And I think with Vrabel, he needed that resurgence. And I think that press conference, he sold me as a fan, but he didn't sell the front office. And I think they're looking at it like that. And I think that he was rubbing noses with them the wrong way. And I think they're like, hey, look, we're getting this new stadium. They're getting the WrestleMania thing. We need to go in a new direction. So I can understand from an ownership and a front office that they've made the best move, what they felt at the time was needed. But from a fan perspective, like me and you, he should have stayed another year.
I mean, I think Vrabel, I think the rumors, I didn't want to believe that those rumors, but I think the rumors were true that he had some issues with the front office.
And that's what I was told.
And I feel like that because that reports came out about that, and some fans didn't want to believe it. I was the one that don't believe it, because I don't like believing in rumor shit unless it actually happens. But it's actually true. I believe that. And yeah, it is true. We all get complacent in our jobs. Sometimes we get too comfortable and we don't think about the stuff that's right in front of us. And
you overlook a lot of things, Yeah,
and we get lost in the shuffle.
You lose energy because you get complacent in your job. Everybody does that.
Mm-hmm.
I do it.
Yep.
Prodigal Hill, I'm sure he does it. I'm sure you do it when you go into work. The first week you're on a job, you're very energetic and you want to impress everybody. And then once you get the hang of things, you're like, Well, sometimes you need that resurgence, And I think with Vrabel's case, if he would have said, listen, I didn't really have a veteran quarterback. A veteran quarterback got hurt last year. This year we got a new guy who I highly believe that's going to be the next future franchise quarterback here.
Oh, we didn't. We didn't.
We will address this.
To be honest with you, though, even if they would have had a star quarterback, even if they would have had, I don't know, Russell Wilson or they would have made that trade for Aaron Rodgers or something like that, no one would be successful with that offensive line. That offensive line was terrible.
And that's why you address it in the offseason.
And they addressed a little bit of it during the offseason, but some people have to understand, Rand Carthon, when he came general manager, he had to clean up the mess that the other one left. So it takes a while. It's not one of those. It's not. That's the problem with Titan fans. Some of them are thinking now, and I'm like, these things take time. It's not one of those things where I mean, look at Houston. They took time to resurgence that team. Now they're in the playoffs.
When Watson left, I said, we're rebuilding, and it's going to take 3 to 4 years. And everyone said, what? I said, yeah, because we got to find a new franchise quarterback. In the meantime, we're going to be going through a bunch of knuckleheads. Yeah. And it panned out. In fact, when CJ came here, I said he won't start this year. Davis will start this year. Davis will be gone next year. CJ will be in. We'll have an average season, maybe 5 or 7 wins. So I had us missing the playoffs this year and next year. I said I'm all willing to wait. Because I look at the business standpoint. I don't look at it as if from like I'm playing Madden now, just make a couple trades and you're a Super Bowl winner. Sometimes, like you said, this takes time.
It's gonna, and I'd be honest with you, I don't care who they bring in as coach. The Titans may not be a playoff team next year. This is going to take a little bit.
Exactly. Y'all may not even be a playoff team until y'all get that new stadium.
And that's okay. I mean, if it takes a little bit, it takes a little bit. It's not one of those things where I'm not one of those Titan fans that's going to cry over spilled milk. I've been with the good, bad, and the ugly. I've seen them at 2-14. I've seen them at 13-3. I've seen them at their best. I've seen them at their worst. And it's
from 2009 to 2015, you guys had losing seasons. And in 2016, Mike Mularkey, I think his last year there, y'all had a winning season and made the playoffs. Vrabel comes in, I think, in the 2017 season, right?
2018.
2018, okay.
Yeah.
In 2018, he had a winning season even the year he didn't make the playoffs that one year.
Yep.
And then he had winning seasons after that, made the postseason, I think, from 2019 to 2021. He had 3 straight years of postseasons, to be fair. And then he missed the last 2. You can make the argument he was on a downward spiral. But I think it comes from the fact his complacency got him fired. He rubbed noses with the front office the wrong way, probably behind the scenes. And I think that with the new stadium, the pitch for WrestleMania, I think the front office said, well, let's just go ahead and go in a new direction. You might as well rebuild. Derrick Henry's leaving anyway. And if D-Hop doesn't want to stay, so be it. We got to rebuild regardless. So I can understand from a business standpoint why they made those moves. I still think that they should have kept Vrabel another year because I still think you could sell that pitch even the year before y'all move in and they sign. With the rebuild, with the new head coach, with, transitioning.
Here's the thing. That's that one season that they went into the playoffs and they were 2-4. They got rid of Mario. They benched Mariota. They brought in Tannehill. And they went to the AFC Championship that year as a second. They went that as they didn't even win the AFC South Division that year.
Yeah.
And they went in there and pretty much got to the playoffs and tried to beat Kansas City, which it was hard to do that year.
Wait, y'all lost to Kansas City, right?
Yeah.
And Arrowhead?
Yep.
What was that, round 2?
No, that was the AFC Championship.
Y'all won that game.
No, I'm talking about the one with Vrabel.
Up 10-0. Nothing.
We were up 17-0 with them in halftime, and then they came back and just. It's kind of like what they did with you guys in the second round, where Houston was winning in the first half, and then all of a sudden, the second half, Patrick Mahomes like, "Ain't no chance of my homeboy." No.
Oh yeah. We were up 24-0. They came back and beat us. I think you guys were up 10-0, and they came back and beat y'all. I think they kicked a field goal, then y'all scored a touchdown, and then they came back. But still, I mean, the fact that us and y'all both had an opportunity to beat them down, and they overcame the odds and beat us both. Because everybody said AFC Championship should have been Houston and the Titans.
Yeah,
that would have been nice. But I think if it would have been, I think you guys should have beaten the Chiefs. That means y'all would have went to Super Bowl and faced the Niners. Ooh. I still think Vrabel I still think Vrabel should have at least coached one more year.
Now, here's the thing, though. I know the Steelers are in the playoffs, but there's talks about Mike Tomlin wanting to leave. And if the Steelers get put out, Mike Tomlin wants to leave. I wouldn't care having Mike Tomlin in this team.
16 straight years of winning seasons. I think that's a good resume to sign anybody.
Now, a lot of people don't talk about this, but I can see Mike Vrabel going to the Raiders because there's a connection with Tom Brady because Brady's a part owner.
Oh shit! So let me ask you this: Do you think Pittsburgh can go into Buffalo and win? Your plan. Buffalo turned it around too. They went from being ranked 8 or 9 in the playoffs, I think about 4 weeks before that, all of a sudden winning their division at the end and snubbing Miami and putting Miami in a position to have to go to Kansas City to win. Wow.
I think Buffalo is catching heat at the right time. Because that's kind of what happened with the Titans that year. They went into the playoffs and they beat New England. They beat Baltimore and went in there against Kansas City. The Titans just caught a lot of momentum that year. Toward the end. And Buffalo is a team right now you don't want to face in the playoffs. I believe that because I think Pittsburgh will probably be put out in the first round.
Wait, you think Pittsburgh's going to be put out in the first round?
Yep.
Wow. You're saying this could be Tomlin's final year?
If he wants to stay. He might want to stay. You never know. But if he doesn't want to stay, I know Pittsburgh would probably be calling Mike Vrabel.
So you're saying that from your perspective, you want a veteran coach, because that seems like that's where you're leaning towards.
That's where I'm leaning towards, yeah. But I want someone I know that's got a resume that can get us to the dance. Not someone that's going to come in there with an offensive mind. And I mean, it's all nice and dandy to have that kind of thing, but look at Andy Reid. People talk about offensive minded guys, but Andy Reid's also a veteran coach. And when he came to Kansas City, he already had a couple winning seasons in Philadelphia. So when he came into Kansas City, they were getting an offensive minded coach, but they were getting one that also had experience.
So where do the Titans land in the draft right now?
I think they're 6 or 7.
Okay, so what do you think the Titans should do with that 6th or 7th pick? Is there anybody in the draft you must have?
If the Titans have somebody in there that they really love and they're on the board, you get them. But if you don't, you can trade back and get a couple of draft picks, and then get the player that you want.
Is there any player that you want right now that you're like, man, I would hope the Titans draft this guy?
Let's see here.
Yeah. I mean, since we're on here, might as well look it up, Is there
I think
player that you need, like, man, I'd really like to have this guy, or I'd really like this guy, or positional wise, a certain position you want? A must have?
Yeah, I'm just looking right now. I want to make sure. Because the draft's going to have a lot of offensive linemen. So you definitely want to think about that. Because you got Peter Storosky as a left guard, which is good. But I like the guy from Penn State. I think him or Joe Out from Notre Dame. Those two guys are really big guys,
Okay.
I feel like, that's where you want to look at. If you want an offensive tackle, it all depends on what they do in the free agency. Like in the free agency, if they do something and they got themselves a good left tackle, then in the draft, you start thinking, what can I find as a receiver, or what can I do as a corner?
Yeah, address another position. But you're saying as of right now, if assuming they make no big moves, you're saying go offensive lineman. That's like your
because you want to protect Will Levis's blind side. and the left tackle it will be his blind side. So you definitely want to get a big body in there to right next to Starosky. If you get Starosky at the left guard and then someone right next to him, pretty much Will Levis's blind side is protected. Then you're fine at that point. But then you also got the right tackle position you have to look at, and then you have the center you have to look at, and there's a lot of holes in that team. I don't think they have enough draft picks to fill all the holes.
So you're saying go ahead.
That's why I still think they're going to struggle this next season.
Okay. That's what I was just about to ask you. That's why you don't got them winning that many games next year.
I'm just being optimistic. I mean, now they could surprise me and end up coming in with a rookie coach or something and come in there and Will Levis is kicking ass and everything's looking good. I could be like, okay, well, I guess I was wrong. But optimistically, I'm kind of like you in that situation. Optimistically, I'm just like, we're going to compete. We're going to win some games, but we're not going to be. I think even if we get people in the free agency, the problem with the Titans in the free agency is they wait too long sometimes. Like, but then again, though, they're not like these other teams like Miami or Washington or anyone that just basically snatches up everybody they see. You know, and then they spend all this money on a player, and you're like, why did you spend all that money on that player? You know, it's now if D-Hop was to leave the Titans or get traded, that would take more cap space off for this team. But you look at the receiving core, and you're like, who else you got after D-Hop? Nobody. So now you're at that position. So you're kind of at that. I feel like the Titans, the last GM we had really fucked us over when he traded AJ Brown to Philly. That's what really did Mike Vrabel in. Vrabel was pissed about that.
Oh, he was?
Oh, Vrabel and AJ Brown, he loved AJ.
AJ was, I think, was he a third round pick or a sixth round?
No, he was a first. I think he was a second round pick for us. And he came in there and he played really well with us. Probably one of the best receivers we had ever. And then he wanted a little bit more money. GM didn't want to give it to him. So he decided to trade him in the draft to Philly. We get the Phillies draft pick. And we draft Traylon Burks, who can't even stay healthy on the field.
Man, so imagine if you would have had AJ Brown and D-Hop.
Oh, my God.
Oh. Ugh. And then if you, like, hypothetically, if you guys were able to land Marvin Harrison Jr., bro. Wow. So what do you think from the front office standpoint in the draft? What do you think the Titans at their weakest links are? Are they at their weakest when drafting receivers? Are they at their weakest when drafting defense? On defense, is there any particular weakness they have?
Their weaknesses is when they draft a corner. I've seen that's been a weakness of theirs because anytime they get a corner like Pac-Man or Caleb Farley, it's been bad. Their strengths have been drafting an offensive tackle, except for that one where we drafted Isaiah Wilson. That was a bust. But I think we draft better when we draft someone like that, like an offensive lineman. Because Starosky, he had a good season. He wasn't the best, but then again, you know, he's just a rookie, so you got to give him a chance to develop. I wouldn't draft a quarterback. Definitely not. Last time we drafted a big high-star quarterback, Marcus Mariota, that didn't last very long.
So let me ask you this. Even if Vrabel would have stayed one more year, with all the holes, would you have still said Titans don't have a chance of making it? Even if Vrabel would stay?
I think even if Vrabel stayed, they probably still would have been a struggling season.
Okay.
But I think at least Vrabel would have had a chance to have the right personnel. Because Vrabel's mentality is when a player gets hurt, next man up. And the problem is with that is we didn't have a lot of personnel to back up when the player got hurt. And Vrabel has been known to call out players for injury. That's why David Long left here and went to Miami, because he was having some injuries, and Mike Vrabel would call out players for having these little, oh, my pinky toe hurts. Come on. He would call players out on it.
No, like I said, Derrick Henry to Dallas would be nasty. I think that'd be the perfect place for him to land in Dallas. They need that power running back, guy you go on goal line that you may, have some carries or whatever. Still got a little juice in the tank, may be a resurgence. I think Dallas would be the best landing spot for Derrick Henry. That's just my personal opinion on it, though.
We had the great Duke Botters in the comments section. If you're still there, Duke, let me ask you. You're a Cowboys fan. How would you feel about Derrick Henry being in a Cowboys uniform next year?
I think it would be nasty. I think it would answer a lot at the running back position. Cowboys don't always have to revert to the pass. You got a running back now, maybe give you 100 yards, or even if he doesn't, he can still give you 2 touchdowns on 50 yards. And that in that goal line stance, man, and when you're in the red zone and you need that running back that you don't always have to depend on the arm strength of Dak, you can revert to the run. I think Dallas would love to have him over there. Just
Derrick Henry would make Dak Prescott's life a lot easier.
And if you put Derrick Henry on Dallas, I'm telling you, bro, like Ezekiel gone, you won't have to worry about that no more. And I'm pretty sure Derrick Henry would take less money to go to Dallas if he knows he's playing for a contender. And to me, that if I'm Derrick Henry, I'm on the phone with Jerry and seeing what deals can be made this offseason and see if you can get something. Because I'm telling you, if you're in the red zone, you're going to give the ball to fucking Derrick Henry, even if, let's say, he's not going to give you 150 yards a game every game anymore. But I can guarantee that motherfucker, if you put him on Dallas on the red zone, he'll give you 50, 60, 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. We've seen it before. Derrick Henry, 2 touchdowns on 70 yards. I don't give a shit if you run 40 yards. If you got 3 TDs attached to them 40 yards in that red zone, come on. I'm thinking Jerry better give him a call. Telling you.
As Duke Botter said, we need a solid runner. Our offensive line scheme is what we really need to be fixed. And then he says, plus we have to pay CD and Mike they have to pay Parsons as all season, maybe Dax. I don't see us spending the money on a external free agent.
Well, I think Derrick Henry will play for less money if he's playing for a contender. If he's not playing for a contender, you got to throw the bank at him. But I think at this point, Derrick Henry, at 30 years old, would love to take less money. If the right contender, Dallas is in the best poker position to do it. Name me another team right now that would take Derrick Henry that's got an explosive offense, maybe other than Philly. I could think maybe the Eagles, or in such case, maybe a team like maybe Green Bay may make the jump. You have that as well. Maybe the Rams may jump on it, but I'm thinking Derrick Henry, where's your best fit? Dak and all the tight ends, receivers they got over there. They got 4 receivers. So now you add that complement, that running back there, and you run the fucking ball on the red zone, and Derrick Henry's pounding that rock, and he's already built like a linebacker. So now you're just feeding him that rock, and he's just pounding those linebackers. He ain't afraid to run in that hole. And if I'm Dallas, if I'm Jerry, I'll say, hey, you want to take less money? You can come here to Dallas and get your ring. We're just a couple pieces away from winning this. I'm saying, Dallas, just give him a call. Trying to tell you.
Duke said, look, I'd love to have him. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think it's going to work out because of their cap situation and what they need to get.
Okay.
Because I mean, like, Parsons is a very big piece of their defense. They're going to have to pay him. That's definitely a thing. So
I'm telling you right now, if Dallas has Derrick Henry, I'm telling you, they're coming out of the NFC, bro. If they stay healthy. I'm telling you, if Dallas has Derrick Henry, that's like CMC to San Francisco. Same fucking thing. Same thing. CMC 49ers is Derrick Henry in Dallas. I'm telling you.
If Derrick Henry's going to want to go to a team,
Dallas.
He's going to want to go to a team that's a contender.
Who?
He's going to want to go to a team that's a contender. He's not going to want to go.
That's facts. That's what I'm saying. He can't go to the Niners unless he goes to Philly.
Which he might because
Philly maybe.
Because there is Kevin Byard and A.J. Brown he's played with, so he's familiar with a couple of guys in Philly.
I'm thinking, what does Derrick Henry fit best? In the NFC, it's either Philly or Dallas. I couldn't think of any other team in the NFC he would land well with. That's going to give it. That's already got the pieces there offensive wise. Then you just pound the rock with that run. Dallas lacks the run. Eagles lack the run. That's where Derrick Henry fits in those two teams. AFC. Let's see. Maybe Pittsburgh. Maybe Pittsburgh. I would go with. And that's assuming if Tomlin stays. So you got to throw that in there. Maybe Cleveland, depending on their running back situation. They already got Kareem Hunt. So the only place I'm thinking that Derrick Henry would go, I mean, unless he's willing to go to a bottom team in the AFC, like maybe Jacksonville. Well, Jacksonville's not a bottom team, but if Jacksonville, I could see them maybe taking a risk and saying, okay, Derrick, we'll throw you that contract, and Trevor Lawrence needs help anyway. So why don't we just go ahead and throw you in there? So Jacksonville's the only team in the AFC I could see maybe them throwing the house money at him.
I can tell you this much right now: Derrick Henry will not want to play with anybody that's a rival to the Titans. He won't. That's something unless they really give him like a stack full of money, and like Tony Khan goes over there and sucks his dick and then gives him money. I don't see him going to Jacksonville.
Man, I'm telling you this: if Derrick Henry in a Dallas Cowboys uniform with that star on there, I'm telling you. If I was a Cowboys fan, I'd buy a jersey the next fucking day on eBay. I'd be right. Even I had to custom make that motherfucker. I'd give me a Derrick Henry jersey.
Well, as Deep Botters is saying, he better have James Conner, who is 28 years old, compared to Derrick Henry. We know what happens when a must running back hits 30. But my issue with that though is, and I will say this: Derrick Henry with a bad offensive line for the first last year and this year ran for over 1,000 yards rushing with 2 years of bad offensive line.
I'm telling you, if Derrick Henry goes to Dallas, and I'm not even a Cowboys fan, I'm telling you, 49ers Cowboys NFC Championship game again, like it's going to be this year, and you put Derrick Henry in that motherfucker. Now you're talking about NFC Championship again. Because he's just like CMC, same thing. I'm telling you guys, man, and he's not going to rush for 150 yards, but you put him on that red zone. That's where you need him, and the Cowboys lack that in the red zone. Put that running back in there. Put Derrick Henry in those situations. You give me 50 yards and 2 touchdowns, I'm good with that. I'm telling you, Derrick Henry's that. I know it's probably a salary cap issue. But I'm telling you, I think if I'm Jerry Jones, I'm calling him and I'm telling him, would you be willing to take less money to win a championship here? And I'll give you some incentives in the offseason or whatever. And you can, make an extra money with this catch or this. And I'm telling you, if I'm Jerry Jones, I'm calling Derrick Henry. I'm calling that motherfucker in the offseason. I'll be the first one to call him.
Well, I know that Duke Botters will be on here in a few minutes. He's going
to state his case, but I think Derrick Henry looks good in Dallas jersey.
I'll state the case to this. Derrick Henry, for the last 2 seasons, has played with a bad offensive line, and he was second in the league in rushing last year, and he got over 1,000 yards again this year.
Talk to me now.
So
you put him at $150 this last game.
And let me just say this much: who does workout videos like Derrick Henry? Have anybody seen his workout videos? I mean, that man is.
Derrick Henry looks like a mini linebacker. He's actually. If you were to ask me what would I compare him to now, if old players wise, call me crazy. Dukes and Prodigals probably roll their eyes when I say this. I think he's a modern day Jerome Bettis from Pittsburgh. Y'all remember Jerome Bettis?
Mm-hmm.
How much of a beast he fucking was? How much of a beast he was on the fucking D-line. Remember that Super Bowl against in Ford Field? Remember his playoff run? That guy didn't need 150 yards, but you put Jerome Bettis right behind on the red zone. Man, that dude, hitting up that middle right there, and you got Derrick Henry, who will run heads up with linebackers. I have not seen a running back do that in the league yet. Maybe other than James Conner, but he's got speed. But other than that, I can't name, other than CMC maybe. I can't think of maybe 3 running backs that are actually fucking legit in this league. CMC, James Conner, and Derrick Henry, and that's it. Maybe you could say Kareem Hunt. Maybe, you know, I can't think of too many teams right now that have a fucking back. Derrick Henry's one of those guys I would make an exception for. Jerry Jones has to fucking call him this offseason. He has to.
Derrick Henry, I mean, I know you compared him to Jerome Bettis, but Derrick Henry is a lot faster than Bettis is.
Well, I'm saying if I compare, I think he's built like Jerome Bettis. He has a size and you know.
We're talking about a 6'3", 245-pound running back that runs a 4-point something and still can run a 4-point.
Okay, what I mean by Jerome Bettis, power running back hitter that runs into the linebackers, takes those fucking hits.
There's nobody else I've seen ever play the game as a running back that does stiff arms like Derrick Henry.
Facts, and that's what I'm saying. Derrick Henry is not afraid to go heads up with linebackers. Not too many running backs do that shit because they're always trying to protect themselves. Derrick Henry is one of a fucking generational talented running back. And I'm saying this in my division defending this guy. I would love to have him here. The only problem is he wouldn't fit because we're going to rely more on our arm strength to CJ Stroud. He doesn't fit in our offense, but I'll be damn well, wouldn't lie to you, if he wouldn't look good in a Jacksonville uniform and running. If the Jaguars were smart, they would fucking call Derrick Henry and offer him a contract. It would be smart and help Trevor Lawrence out. But if not, you got Pittsburgh, maybe. You got maybe Miami would maybe consider that offer. But if I'm an NFC team, the teams I'm thinking Eagles, Cowboys, I'm going to say maybe the Bears, if assuming the Bears got their shit together at the quarterback situation, if they feel confident Derrick Fields is the answer, I can see maybe the Bears, Packers offering Derrick Henry. But Derrick Henry wants to go to a contender. Dallas and Eagles are on my radar. If I'm
Derrick Henry could also, Denver's another team you want to look at.
But are they going to keep Russell Wilson?
No. But I do think that let me let Duke come in here now.
Are they going to throw the house money at him?
Hey, what's up, Duke?
Hey, what's up? You guys hear me okay?
Yep, hear you good.
Awesome. So I'm not here to attempt to disprove anything you said as far as Derrick Henry's ability. I don't think there's any question. Derrick Henry is one of the best, if not the best, running back the league has seen in the last 10 years.
And still currently.
I mean, yeah, I would say that. One of the reasons I think that's the case is just because the position's undervalued now. And I agree with a lot of the veteran running backs that have said, hey, the running back position is underpaid, undervalued. It's not a part of a lot of big-time offenses anymore. I couldn't tell you the last team that's won the Super Bowl that has had a premier running back. So I do agree that he's one of the best running backs that we've seen. But with the Cowboys specifically, our problems are within right now. We have, we got CeeDee Lamb who's about to get – he already said he wants to be the highest paid receiver in the league, and I think he gets that money. That's probably mid to lower $30 million. But then you're also going to be paying Micah Parsons, who, again, is going to command a lot of money. So it's just a matter for me of can we afford him. And Jerry Jones, historically, over the past 20 years, has not been active with external free agents, with the exception of maybe Stephon Gilmore. But other than that, he doesn't typically go out and get anybody. So I don't expect that he comes to Dallas. I would not be disappointed if he did.
Now, here's something else I would say, too, Steven, to that is the last time a Titans running back went to Dallas, it didn't do very well, and that was Eddie George. So I don't know if that is where we're at in that situation. I I know that Prodigal Hill wants to debate Duke, but I don't have a lot of time.
Did Duke just leave or what?
Yeah, I guess he got kicked off somehow. I don't know how it happened.
Well, I didn't kick him off.
No, I didn't either. He just left.
Oh, okay. I was just okay. Go ahead.
I mean, I know Prodigal Hill wants to debate him on this, but I ain't got a lot of time here. So
I don't think it's more of a debate. He's probably refuting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I probably sounded like R2D2 for the past 30 seconds.
On this. Hear me out. I understand your issues are salary cap issues and Jerry Jones. I get you. But check this out. The Cowboys are driving into the red zone. And then all of a sudden, Derrick Henry comes right in that power back and just feeding that fucking rock, man. And you're just seeing him trucking those guys. You can't tell me that don't get you excited. Just a little.
Question, though, remains is would Derrick Henry still wear 22? Because the 22 jersey is retired.
Oh, shit. Emmitt Smith.
That's retired. You double deuce on my chest, bro. I got to apologize. I didn't hear anything you just said. My phone signal's been terrible, but I think I'm good now, hopefully.
No, I'm saying, Duke, imagine you're on the red zone and y'all are feeding that damn rock to Derrick Henry, and he's just doing monster trucking running, man. Oh, that's nasty thinking about it, huh? It might be.
To see if this will even out. Yeah, I heard you that time. You're good. I'm trying to get my side to.
You can't tell me that.
You kind of hit me on a soft spot right there because the one thing on offense is goal line offense, and from a Cowboy, you're not going to know this guy, but from a Cowboys fan perspective, my whole deal was, we have an undrafted free agent named Hunter Lipke. He's one of the best fullbacks in the league, which there are not many of those either. Just give him the ball at the goal line. Let him be the power back. Well, they tried it against, I think it was Miami, maybe Buffalo, I forget. And, he fumbles the ball.
Oh,
so, I mean, we need that element. But is that element worth the money that he's going to be asking for is the question. Now, if we can get him for, something small, if he'll do a couple of years,
10 mil.
Something affordable. Yeah, I'd probably go ahead and do that. The reason being, too, is because I believe, I'd have to look it up again, but I believe Pollard might be a free agent this year. If not this year, next year for sure. This is not a really super strong running back draft class this year. So, if you're going to replace Pollard, maybe you do bring in a vet on a 1-2 year deal. I mean, it's possible.
Okay.
But he's not going to be sticking around longer than maybe 2 years at the most. But he added Derrick Henry to this offense. I think he would do some things. But again, our offensive line is no better than Tennessee's. I think yours is better than ours, actually. But, it's something we got to work on.
I think with Derrick Henry, he said that if it's a playoff or a championship contending team, that he would take a major pay cut. So, and I know that he already has a house in Dallas. He's already from Dallas.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
Yes. So
I didn't know that.
So he grew up as a Cowboys fan.
Can you remind me? The Ravens just signed somebody, a couple of weeks ago? It was between them and Dallas. I forget who it was. Let's say it was a running back. Maybe it was a receiver. I can't remember.
But I do see what Duke's talking about. You have to look at it from how much money you're going to have left after you re-sign C and Parsons. Because Parsons is one guy you don't want to let go.
Oh, no, you're not letting Parsons go. And then again, not this offseason, but next offseason, you might as well write Dak a blank check. You're gonna need all the money you can get.
So I'm kind of looking at it from that perspective: is how much money they will have left over. Now, if Derrick Henry goes up and looks at Dallas and Dallas fixes the offensive line, and he sees that as which Prodigal Hill was saying earlier, Duke, that if y'all guys are one and done again in the playoffs and they fire Mike McCarthy, what if Dallas brought in Mike Vrabel?
I mean, that's possible. I don't think he would be the highest person on Jerry's list. I think, honestly, the highest person on Jerry's list would be Dan Quinn right now. Now he has an interview with I think Carolina, but the rules have changed in the NFL. Now you can't have an actual in-person visit until I believe the conference championship. So any visits that Dan Quinn has right now are virtual visits. But I think if something were to happen in round 1, round 2, we lost. McCarthy's out of here, and I think Dan Quinn would be the guy, and he's more of a defensive coach. And he hasn't, to my knowledge, ever had a really good running back either. I mean, in Atlanta, I couldn't tell you who it was that was his running back. I mean, but it all kind of hinges on what we do in the next couple of weeks. I think this team is going to shock some people. I think we're going to beat Green Bay, and then depending on what happens with the Rams-Lions, we could end up beating Philadelphia again and going to the conference championship. But if that happens, to your point, if we play San Francisco in the conference championship this year, you're going to see one team that has Christian McCaffrey, the best running back in football. I don't think there's any question about it. And then the other team has, Tony Pollard, an injured Deuce Vaughn, an injured Rico Dowdle. I mean, there's a bit of a drop off there. So I kind of get what you're saying.
No, but I kind of look at it too. The one thing I'm also worried about is the last time a Titans running back left and went to Dallas, it didn't do too well, and that was Eddie George. Now, at that point, Derrick Henry's a lot better at 30 than Eddie George was. But Derrick Henry does take care of himself very well. I think if you bring him into Dallas, and this is what I'm saying, if Tony Pollard is still there for another year, you let Derrick Henry be the 2-back. You don't let him be the first one. And you use Derrick Henry for certain, like if Dallas gets a big lead, Derrick Henry would be great to use in the second half to run the clock off. And just keep pounding and pounding and pounding, and Dallas can win a lot of games that way. I think that's what Steven's trying to throw out there. Would he look good in a Dallas uniform? I mean, he would, and it would hurt me because I know he's done a lot of great things here. But in the NFC, I only see Dallas or Philly as the two options for him.
Philly's already got DeAndre Swift, and there's another one too they have. I can't think who it is. But, I remember Eddie George in Dallas. I was thrilled to get him, and he became a Cowboys legend. He showed up and didn't really do much. And that's again, a kind of a factor for me, too, is a little bit of regression there. Derrick Henry's longest run last year was, I think, 52. I mean, his ability to break loose for the chunk plays isn't really there anymore. And, I have no doubt that he's able to push the offensive line, defensive line up for 3 or 4 yards on a 3rd and short, but is he going to break out a 40 or 50? And that's an element this offense desperately needs. Somebody that can even catch screen passes and go for a first down every other possession. We don't have that right now.
Well, I can tell you, if you were to get Derrick Henry, this is what you would be getting. A guy with a bad offensive line the last 2 years. Last year, he ran for 1,500 yards and was the second in the league next to Christian McCaffrey. This year, you're getting a guy who got over 10 plus touchdowns and still got 1,000 yards rushing with an even worse offensive line. So I feel like with Derrick Henry, you can still get 1,000 yards out of him.
In our offense, we wouldn't get 1,000, I don't think, but we would get some. The difference is that, and this is not a shot at all at the Titans, but we have, CeeDee Lamb, I believe, is the best receiver in football. And, we have Dak Prescott, who has a serious case for MVP. So our offense in general is not predicated upon the run. It's predicated upon the pass. But he would be a really good element. But, again, right now, our running game, we say that Tony Pollard is the starting running back. The most success we've had in the run game this year are guys like Brandon Cooks and Kevontae Turpin and even CeeDee Lamb. We don't run the ball to Derrick Henry's style in Dallas at all. It's just not something we do. So is he going to come in and change the pace of the offense? I don't know how that would work, but if it happens, I'd love to see what element he brings. I'm just afraid that the offense would have to kind of change around him a little bit based on what it did last year.
I know the one good thing about him too is that he's able to catch passes out in the backfield too. So like if there was ever a pressure and Dak Prescott needed to throw it to him, he can catch and get some yards that way too. So he is flexible with that. So
Dak does like his security blankets.
I do agree with Duke on one thing, and their offense don't match Derrick Henry's way of playing, but I look at it like this. Would he want to go to the NFC? Because, I mean, there is Buffalo that needs a running back. He could probably go to Baltimore if he wanted to do something with that.
I've got to jump out of here. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, Duke. Thank you for being on.
Yeah.
Sure. Good to see you guys.
You too. I just think I don't know. I mean, I understand what Duke's trying to say, but
I think he's looking at age. He's looking at will he fit in our style of offense, knowing that Dak's going to throw the ball probably 70-80% of the time. And, on the goal line situation, it'd probably be great to have him. But then he's thinking, well, we also need a back that's also can run the ball. So I can understand, for those 50-yard runs, 60 yards, we need someone a little bit more consistent, younger legs and stuff. That's why he was saying James Conner and stuff like that. So, yeah, I agree with him. I agree with his stance on it. I just think I'm thinking from the red zone, you can put him in there even as a decoy. So you got Derrick Henry in the backfield now, right? You got CeeDee Lamb. You got the other receivers they got in their lineup. And so now you include that running back. So now they have to watch for the run. And
I agree with it. I agree with it to an extent. The one thing I disagree with, and this is what he doesn't understand, is he's looking at it from what most fans look at it. He's about to be 30 years old. He's 30 years old. Running backs don't last very long. But let me just clarify something. Have you seen a running back in the last 10, 15 years look like Derrick Henry?
Nope.
And keep himself, yeah. He's only had one bad injury. And that year before he got hurt, he was on pace to get 2,000 yards again before he got hurt that year. And then he came back in the playoff game against the Bengals when he was supposed to be gone for the season.
Okay, instead of Jerome Bettis, I think I can name somebody better I can compare him to. How about this? Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, that definitely is. See, it would actually fit well for him in Dallas because Derrick Henry wouldn't have to do 20, 30 carries a game. He can actually rest himself. He could come in there on these plays. If you give him a good offensive line, he can break for 50, 60 yards.
And like I said, and if Dak's passing the ball anyway, you don't need a 150-yard rusher anymore.
Mm-mm.
So now, like I said, I would just tell Derrick Henry in that, 3rd and 4, or let's say 3rd and 3, and I need to run the ball or have a run play design. I have you instead of having to rely on Pollard, who's more of just a speed rusher, isn't, and we need he's not going to go heads up with linebackers, He's more of like a speed rusher, running back. Derrick Henry, he'll see through the line and see the holes and go through it, and then he'll go heads up and stiff arm a motherfucker. That's what he does. And I don't know, maybe I'm hyping him up a little bit more than Cowboys fans are, but I truly believe if I'm Derrick Henry, I think Dallas is probably your number one place to go to, at least to try to get some sort of deal done. But like I said, from a fan's perspective, it may be great, but from an organizational standpoint, they may not see it that way. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But for another good team, go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you this much: the Eagles do have Swift and another running back, but let me just clarify something to that. The Eagles, if there's a chance for them to get Derrick Henry as a monster, so that way Jalen Hurts doesn't have to run the ball a lot of times when he does his stuff.
Facts.
This helps Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts don't have to take over a football game and stuff like that. He can just manage it and then throw it to A.J. Brown where he needs to throw it to. So if Dallas don't pick up Derrick Henry and Philly does, Dallas might regret that. Because Derrick Henry will be like, okay.
You're absolutely right.
Some reporter asked him, would you want to go to Dallas? And he said, He didn't say yes and he didn't say no. He just kind of looked at it like he said, "What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some time off." Him and his girlfriend and their kid are going to Hawaii, so he's going to take some time off. And he's going to recess the situation. Now with Vrabel being gone, I definitely could tell you he's not coming back to Tennessee.
All right. Well, let me tell you this. With Derrick Henry, do you think this is his last stop? Meaning, like this, whatever team signs him, this is his last go.
Yeah.
You think like in the fourth quarter of his career?
Yeah. I believe wherever he goes, he's going to, if he signs a 2 or 3 year deal with smaller money, I think he'll play those 3 years and he'll be like, you know what, I'm done.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking two different things. Number one, Derrick Henry, I think what is good enough to minimum get a 2-year deal. Now, maximum I think is 3, 4 if he's lucky. But I'm thinking 2 to 3. Now I'm thinking he may go 2 years with somebody else and then maybe sign his retirement tour in Tennessee in the new stadium. In the new Nissan Stadium. Tell me that would look nice. Derrick Henry goes to Dallas for 2 years and rides off into sunsets on his retirement tour, and Tennessee signs him to a 1-year contract. Tell me that wouldn't be cool.
Oh, absolutely. And to be honest with you, I'm looking at him now. He's almost got 100 yards. He's almost got 100 touchdowns in his career. He's already close to a 10,000-yard rushing career. I mean, the dude's got Hall of Fame stats. I just think he wants a ring. And I'm looking at it, and I agree with you. I think Philly and Dallas are the only two that I could see that could get him a ring in the NFC quick.
I think if he goes to Dallas, he gets one. But that's just me.
Yeah.
I think if he goes to Dallas, he gets one. And then I think he plays I think he plays 2 years, gets one in Dallas. And I think after that, he'll already been excited about that ring. And he'll do a retirement tour with the Titans to honor their new stadium.
Then he'll just retire as a Titan.
Yeah, and retire as a Titan and play his final year, and they'll play like the video tribute every game of him.
I think he'll just be a bench player at that point, but he'll come in on certain plays and
and then he'll do the mosh pit at the end where they carry him off the field like in Rudy. They're like Rudy, it's like Henry, and the coach like throws him in there.
Well, I will say this: I'm glad Duke came on. I'm glad you came on. I would have let Prodigal Hill and Duke have their debate, but I will do that another time because I kind of want to hear that.
Me too. Or at least Prodigal come in and state his case right now. That would be nice. I don't even know if he's still watching, but that would have been nice if he come in and he could state his case just so that, even though Duke's not in here,
But I will say this: I do have to get going around 4 because I got some stuff to do.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I definitely did watch y'all's video last night.
Interesting take. Let me ask you this though, before we go. Let's just do a quick predictions of the picks for the playoffs. Who do you got for Browns Texans Saturday?
Surprisingly not. I got right now the Browns are playing
red hot.
Okay. They're playing red hot. I don't want to say against this, but I feel like if CJ Stroud wants to cement his legacy, winning a playoff game will do that. But I kind of think Cleveland's going to get them on this one.
Yeah, I think so too. And even though, I like my chances, don't get me wrong, but we have lost to Cleveland the last 4 times. I think that Cleveland will probably beat us in NRG. That Flacco guy is red hot, and they got a caliber defense. I think it's going to be a close game, though. Don't get me wrong. It may come to the last seconds, but I think they edges 27-26, somewhere in that note. Yeah. Who do you got out of Miami at Kansas City, the later game on Saturday?
Kansas City will win with the help of Taylor Swift and the referees.
Okay. And then who do you got for the Pittsburgh at Buffalo noon game?
Buffalo's playing hot right now, so I'm going to go with Buffalo. I think Buffalo – it's hard to win in Buffalo in the playoffs.
Okay, Green Bay at Dallas?
Much as I would love to see Dallas get put out, Dallas will be too much for Green Bay. I don't think Jordan Love has that experience yet to
All right. And then LA Rams at Detroit.
Lions.
Me too. Pretty much all of our picks are aligned the same, actually, believe it or not. So, yeah, those are my picks for that. And I guess just off the eyeball test, who do you got winning the Super Bowl? Who's your two teams in the Super Bowl?
Right now, I see Baltimore and San Francisco. That's just what I see.
Ooh.
Unless Kansas City gets help from the referees and they beat Baltimore.
Facts.
Right now, San Francisco is a team right now that they've proven they can beat Dallas and they've proven they can beat Philly. So San Francisco is not scared of either one of them.
The question is, can Dallas win on the road? And that's going to be the biggest question. And their only testament will be at San Francisco NFC Championship game.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a very phenomenal game. But I think Dallas goes in San Fran and gets the dub. I think they finally get off of that hump and they push that Super Bowl. I still think Kansas City's coming out of the AFC. And I think you're looking at KC Dallas, but honestly, I think Kansas City will beat Cowboys, and I got Kansas City winning. And they've already did the Tribal Chiefs consecutive day streak where they're doing like Roman Reigns, like consecutive day counter. And I think he's almost at 300. Well, he'll be at 360. No, he'll be at 377 days come Super Bowl day as a champion, like consecutive days as a champion. So that means if he wins, you have to add another 365 days to that. And then he'll be the champion for another 800-something days, the Tribal Chief.
Look how funny like Kansas City wins, and all of a sudden they come out to Roman Reigns' music.
Yeah, the Tribal Chief, and they got the Bloodline storyline, and he's like, "This is my yard now, motherfucker."
No, but I could see that. I could see Kansas City or Baltimore in the AFC, and the NFC. I could see either San Francisco or Dallas. I would say Philly, but Philly's kind of fell off. I don't know what's going on with the Eagles exactly, but
call me crazy. Do you think? Oh, we forgot that Monday Night Football game. Who do you got? Philly at Tampa.
I got the Eagles beating Tampa. I think the Eagles will at least get into the second round, and then.
Okay, so yeah, you got them over Tampa. Same here.
Yeah.
All right, Kev. Well, I appreciate you for having me on. I know you got to go somewhere in 4 minutes, man. But yeah, man, this was fun, and I hope we got some more of these videos.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe go ahead.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I would have joined in with you guys. I was singing last night, but I came in from doing some double at work, and I was so tired.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
Yeah, but I did listen to y'all stuff this morning. I was like, I'm just going to listen to their shit.
Well, the thing was that video was previously recorded, so it was a premiere video. Like what it was is we were doing the halftime. I mean, I was covering the Texans Colts game, and so after the game, we talked about his book, and that's where it got off. And that was like a different topic, but we pushed it till damn near 2 a.m. And Prodigal still wanted to go on. He wanted to go on till 4 a.m. And I would have loved to. I would have said, hey, let's do this all night. I ain't tripping. Let's go for a 10-hour video. But then I remembered, I said, damn, I got to go to work at 7 a.m. I at least need 4 hours of sleep. And we were almost pushing at 1:52. I'll never forget. I'm like, dude, I at least need to get 4 hours of sleep, at least 4. And so other than that, Prodigal was willing to go all night. Usually our conversations are only 2 hours. And he's usually the one telling me, hey, man, I got to go. I'm trying to get off. My phone's dying. But our conversation went deep into 6 a.m. If you include that football game, to that 2 hour and 26-minute segment, it was a 6 hour and 20-minute show. I told him that's a world record. We've never done anything. Usually me and him do 2 hours, 30 minutes, 2 hours, 45. That's been the longest. That one was 6 hours and 20 minutes.
Jesus.
So, yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get off. I'm going to let you off, and appreciate you for having me on, man.
Yeah, appreciate you guys coming on. And we'll actually, at Prodigal Hill later, I'll talk to him and Duke Botters. I kind of want to have this debate now.
Let's do it.
I kind of want to hear it.
Let's set it up. Let's instigate it.
Yeah. I want to instigate shit now. Come on.
Let's hold up. I'm telling you, if I'm going to say Derrick Henry on Dallas, make it happen if you're Jerry Jones. If I'm Jerry Jones, I would contact him in the offseason and say, I hope you enjoy your summer. You got a new team you're playing for there, boy. 2 years there, boy.
It'd be the Duke Cutter versus the Iron Claw. Which one's gonna win?
Bro, bring Derrick Henry on a 2-year deal for the minimum and give him a player option on the following season. I guarantee he takes it.
Oh, absolutely. But anyway, though, I appreciate you guys, and I'm gonna try to instigate some stuff with them to get them.
All right. Well, I'll see you around. Thanks, Kev, for having me on.
All right, you too, man. Anyways, everybody, thank you for liking the video, sharing. 154 subscribers, I appreciate it. We got some more content coming up this soon. More interviews are coming up soon that I'm working on. If anything, have a great week, and hope everybody stays safe.